Happy, peaceful Sunday, beloved faces. This is a place of reconnection and interconnection as we gather virtually for another Sunday together. And it's also a place where you know your sorrows and joys will be held with love and grace. I'm so glad to share Jane Word's Summer Song service with you today. Summer Song gives us such a delightful opportunity to hear from each other, and I'm grateful Jane agreed to put in the time and effort to help create this service today. So many of you have reached out with your thanks over these last long 16 months that we have been offering virtual services. You recognize that the volunteers who have been doing this work are dedicated and do this with love. As an example, Scott put together the service this week, working with Jane to find a time to pre-record her homily, as well as creating the beautiful slide deck that you'll be seeing. Jesse and Karen finished up a drive this morning, hopping online. Jesse ready to host, Karen as our able co-host, smoothing out the wrinkles as they happen. And Sandy will be lighting and extinguishing the chalice, her dedication in going to our sanctuary so that we can still see the sacred beloved space is such a blessing. And I'm Jenny Gimignani, serving as the service coordinator this morning. As Sandy mentioned in our pre-service time, the children and youth are gathered at GNUUC outside for a tie-dye festival, so we may see some of them in the background at times, and it feels like old times there. So welcome everyone, and let us gather in friendship and service and love. If you read your email this week, you know a new minister has been found. And it's okay if you haven't seen that email because we'll be showing you the welcome video from Reverend Denise during the announcements at the end of the service. She'll begin working with us on September 1st, but if a need arises during this transition time, please reach out to our administrator, Chris, at gnuuc@gnuuc.org, and she can direct concerns as needed. Thank you so much for your loving support of each other and the leadership during this time. I'm excited about what's coming for us. It sounds ominous. What's coming for us? As Sandy lights our chalice, I will read words from Mark Kelsey, setting the tone for the joyous connection to nature that Jane is sharing with us today. The all animal chalice. We light this chalice, spark of the original fire of creation, to remind us that we all on this planet, the furred, the feathered, the finned, and the scaled, along with us featherless bipeds, we are all made of the same star stuff and all share a common destiny. We share the same hopes of a life free from harm and suffering, and the same aspirations of happiness, love, and flourishing, being able to express our own unique natures and capacities as best we may. We are just that many diverse perspectives from which the whole is seen and experienced. We are inextricably intertwined, interconnected, and interdependent, and it is good. Blessed be. The longer I am a Unitarian Universalist, the more having a covenant means to me. It doesn't mean perfection, and it doesn't mean being nice. It means limitless in love and support within boundaries. If you truly believe we are working toward making a welcoming community and a better world, please join in reading these words. We covenant together to make a welcoming community, to walk together in the way of truth and love, to seek the life of the Spirit as it is known by each person, to support each other in thought, word, and deed as we work to build a better world. Together, Jane and Scott chose a selection of songs and stories for us today. Get ready to get in the mood for joy with our first shared song, Good Morning, Starshine.
Good morning, starshine. The earth says hello. You twinkle above us, we twinkle below. Good morning, starshine. Lead us along, my love and me, as we sing our early morning singing song. Glitty, gloo, glooby, dibby, dabby, dooby, la, 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 lo, lo. Saba, sibby, saba, dooby, abba, nabba, dee, lo, lo. Dooby, ooby, walla, dooby, abba, nabba, early morning singing song. Good morning, starshine. There's love in your skies, reflecting the sunlight in my lover's eyes. Good morning, starshine. So happy to be my love and me, as we sing our early morning singing song. Glitty, gloo, glooby, dibby, dabby, dooby, la, 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 lo, lo. Saba, sibby, saba, dooby, abba, nabba, lee, lo, lo. Dooby, ooby, walla, dooby, abba, nabba, early morning singing song. Can you hear me singing a song, loving a song, singing a song, loving a song, laughing a song, singing a song, sing a song to sing, song, 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 sing, 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 sing song. Song, 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 sing, 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 sing song. Sing, sing song, sing song. Yeah, you can sing, sing, sing song, sing song. Sing, sing song, sing song. Sing.
I have to tell you, I have known that song for years, would not have guessed those were the lyrics for that song. Jesse and I were saying how much we loved seeing the words on the screen. And it does go really well with the tie-dye that the children are doing today. So glitty glub gloopy to all of you. For our Time for All Sages today, we've got Daffodils from Wordsworth, which is a piece of poetry I had not heard before. And the imagery of it brought me such joy the first time I heard it. So I hope you enjoy it too.
I wandered, lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils.
My heart with pleasure fills. On July 4th, GNUUC kicked off our fundraiser through our Share the Plate program for the Nashville chapter of Americans United for Separation of Church and State. This organization was chosen in memory of Charles Sumner, who was dedicated to GNUUC social action for so many years. The natural choice was the Nashville chapter, an organization that Charles founded where he was honored as President Emeritus. Funds raised will go to the local AU chapter. The next slide will show the variety of ways we have for you to donate. Thank you for the generosity you continue to show to both GNUUC and our partner organizations. And thank you to the social action team who selects valued and valuable organizations for us to learn about and support each month. If you have an organization you'd like to suggest, please reach out to Nancy or Doug to learn how to make a nomination. We have our meditation time next. I'll read the meditation shown on your screen. And if you need time to text in a donation, now is the time you can do that. Or if you'd like to close your eyes and relax into these words, feel free to do that too. We thank you, sky, for your blue, by Gary Kowalski. We thank you, sky, for your blue, also breeze for what you do. Everything simple, undivided, and too ordinary to be tried is true. The sound of rain when we're warm inside, purple shadows on the mountainside. Help us to notice, open our eyes, give us grateful hearts and unclinging minds that we might be at one and at peace when our story's told. It's much a part of nature, of the beauty we behold. Today's meditation music is My Life Flows On, an Endless Song. The words will be on your screen and you are muted, so feel free to sing along for a singing meditation if that is what brings you peace and comfort.
My life flows on in endless song above its lamentation. I hear the the far of him that hears a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me rolls? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm. While to the rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ring, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To breeze and sand and to the dial, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? My life flows on in endless song, all of its lamentation. I hear the breath of him that hears a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds like a soul. How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing?
I had the honor and pleasure of interviewing Jane a few months ago after hearing from several members of the women's group that she was fascinating and so knowledgeable and a delight to talk to. They were not wrong. And I'm so grateful that Jane agreed to be one of our summer song speakers. Jane is a Nashville native and a member of the GNUUC Women's Covenant Group. She volunteers in the upkeep of Still Spring Garden. She has worked as a graphic and textile designer and was director of the Tennessee Film Commission. Jane enjoys nature, gardening, watching birds, and the Smoky Mountains. Jane had a conflict come up for today, so she and Scott met over Zoom yesterday to record today's message. That's why you'll see wonderful Scott's face for a few seconds in the beginning. Now, let us hear from Jane.
Hi, I'm Jane Word, and I appreciate you inviting me to be part of Summer Song. I enjoyed the presentation last week, and I hope you'll enjoy this one today. I'm going to talk a little bit about nature, and it all started when I was a little toddler. I was standing at the back door, looking out at the beautiful daffodils that were blooming in the yard, and I said, "Mommy, outside. I want to go outside." And of course she let me out in the backyard, and I just loved those flowers. And then one day I noticed they were dying, and they died. I thought, what's that about? And then the next spring I noticed they came back, and they bloomed even bigger, better than ever. And I thought, I wonder if this means something. I don't know. Then onward I went to the Unitarian Church on Woodmont when I was a young teen, and I read Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau. I read The Transcendentalist, and I thought, this is very interesting, and this helps me put things together a little bit more. And later, in college, I majored in philosophy, always searching for the nature of reality, as it were. What's the meaning of everything I'm seeing? And I assure you, I don't know. and I haven't figured it out. And if I told you, I'd have to charge you money for it, or write a book. But I'm still asking those questions, and I think it's a worthy question to ask, what's the nature of reality? But in the meanwhile, I just knew that I loved nature. And when I would be outside in the forest or anywhere under the sky, looking at the clouds, the lakes, the water, I just had such good feelings, a feeling of connection with something bigger than myself. Didn't know what it was, didn't know what to call it, but I could feel it. And sometimes I think I heard the call of the wild, the call of the wild. And sometimes it went to voicemail. But I still love, best of all, being in a wilderness situation where I don't see any buildings, although buildings really do come in handy, okay? And I realize, I get it, others don't feel the same. There are a lot of people who are not comfortable in nature, and that's all right. Maybe there are too many bugs, or it's too hot or too cold or unpredictable. And I just, I wish they could feel what I feel, but I understand completely that they're not entranced with nature like I am. Emerson said, nature wears the colors, the clothes of our spirit, our spirit. We see what we are, okay? So this explains a lot about these reviews that were left on the Yelp website, where you can rate something, you give it 1 star so you can say something negative about it. But here are a couple of reviews of our national parks, and I'd share them with you for your enjoyment. One of the reviews was, it looks nothing like the license plate. Okay, granted. And a review of Yosemite, famous Yosemite, El Capitan, Half Dome, everything. Trees block the view and there are too many gray rocks. Okay, and a review of Sequoia National Park. There are bugs and they will bite you on your face. Okay, and this is true. Next one is true for most of our national parks. No cell service and terrible Wi-Fi. Okay, so this review was about my beloved Smoky Mountains. Nothing specific to do. All right, granted, but there's everything to be. All right, everything to be. Being outdoors, for me anyway, is a great opportunity to just stop thinking, for one thing, stop trying to rearrange things, just stop and take a break from the daily routine where we're always driven and pushing things and making things happen and doing and doing and doing. But it's a great chance just to be and appreciate the many, many forms of nature, the leaves, the flowers, the abundance of diversity, insects even. So along those lines, as I spent time moseying around in nature, and I can't walk as far as I used to, but I was reflecting on some things that nature taught me, 5 things nature taught me. One is change, okay? Change is constant. And I know that sounds contradictory, but change is constant and it is even necessary. We think about birth and death, but a simple example is the weather, okay? The weather, especially in Middle Tennessee, changes all the time. It changes from the morning forecast when you get up to the afternoon. It doesn't seem to know what the weatherman said. So and here in Middle Tennessee, it's mostly wet, dry, hot, cold. When I lived in Southern California, the weather was pretty much an even 72 degrees and sunny. 72 degrees and sunny every day, which, yeah, it was pretty great. But the meteorologists didn't have much to do, so they gave him the beat of covering the earthquakes that would happen there occasionally. And that's changed too. That's tectonic plates, shifting and stress being released. So we're also faced with another kind of change, climate change. And I know you all know the science around that and how the Earth's atmosphere, as it warms up, holds more water, sucks it out of some places and dumps it on others in ways that seem unpredictable now. We're in a period of climatic instability, and that was predicted in the 70s, in the 1970s. We could see this coming, but here we are now. Okay, I won't lecture you about climate change, but I will share one example of it in my own life. I'm a Nashville native, and I grew up here, and I had never seen an armadillo until I went to southern Louisiana. Okay, well, armadillo, and they didn't live here. It was too cold. Okay, I'd never seen fire ants or those big flying cockroaches, palmetto bugs we call them, until southern Louisiana. They didn't live here. And to me, when I see them here now, it's, yeah, you cannot dispute the fact that the planet's warming up, or they wouldn't be here. Okay, so along that line, here's another thing I learned in nature: connected. All things in nature are connected. And John Muir wrote, when you tug at a single thing in nature, you find it is attached to the rest of the world. So we are seeing that now. On a personal level, I like to go look for wildflowers, and I started going to the Smokies, to the wildflower pilgrimage, and I'd get up in the Smoky Mountains and see beautiful wild lady slippers. They're flower lady slippers. They're just gorgeous, and they're an orchid. Okay, so I thought, oh boy, they can grow wild up there. When I get home, I'll go to the native plant nursery and I'll get one and see if I can grow it in my yard. Well, I did that, came home, went to the native plant nursery, said, hey, you got any pink lady slippers? And they said, oh, no, we can't cultivate them. And I said, you can't cultivate them. I was used to Home Depot flowers, like marigolds. You could put those anywhere. They said, yeah, here's the thing. They are dependent on a special fungus that's in the soil, and we don't have that fungus in this part of the state. Okay, they need this fungus to open the seeds, all right? So then the seeds attach to that fungus, which provides them with nutrients, and then later the seeds attached to the roots of the flower provides them with nutrients too. But you can grow them here, you just can't grow them from seeds. I went, wow, who knew? On a micro level, that micro level, everything is truly connected. So I just had to give up on the lady slippers. So here's another thing I learned from nature, and you probably already know this if you've ever been fishing. Patience, okay? Some days the fish bite, some days they don't. Patience. And Waldo, I call him Waldo, said famously, adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. And I got to admit, though, every time I hear the word patience, I think of this old cartoon I saw somewhere. It's two vultures sitting in a tree, and one of them turns to the other one and says, patience? No, I'm going to kill something. So I still try to remember patience. If you plant a seed in your garden, you don't go dig it up to see if it's sprouting. You just be patient, water it, keep it in its right conditions, and it will reward you. So this spring, I was also reminded of patience. There's a activity that happens in the natural world we call it spring migration, okay? There are these little tiny birds called warblers, and they're beautiful, brightly colored. They live on insects, so you're not going to see them at your bird feeder, but they fly up from Central and South America, across the Gulf of Mexico, across Mexico. They pass through Tennessee. They'll hang out here for a little while before going on up to their breeding grounds up north or in the higher elevations. So every spring, around your lake, you've got a whole bunch of people with binoculars trying to find warblers. And this year, warblers were late. So we're going, where are the warblers? They're not here yet, you know. So, you know, what are you going to do? You can't bring them up, you know, you just have to wait. So we waited, and boy, they did arrive and put on quite a show. It was awesome. It was magnificent. And I know birding sounds a little nerdy, but if you try it, you might like it. It's a lot of fun. So here's another lesson I learned in nature. Allow. Really, what I want to talk about is acceptance and appreciation, but those were really long words to get on a little card. But allow, and by that, I'm talking about what Ram Dass was talking about, the famous spiritual teacher who wrote the book Be Here, Be Now. He talked about the example of going into the forest. And when you go into the forest, there are all these trees, and some are tall, some are short, some are bent, some are evergreen, and some aren't. But he says you appreciate them as they are, okay? You allow the tree to be just as it is. And it's perfect the way it is. It might not be a tree you want in your yard, but you're in its yard, okay? So you allow the tree. And thinking about that, there are a lot of people who go, what is this weed? Should I pull this weed? I see those on my nature Facebook pages. And I love to say what Waldo said again. He said, a weed is a plant whose virtues have yet to be discovered. Okay, and other people say a weed is a plant confronted by an unhappy person. So, you know, I'm not saying you shouldn't pull the weeds, but you got to allow some things in nature to be as they are. Like the bugs. Bugs have a purpose. They feed the warblers. I'm liking that. Snakes, okay? They're not out to get you. They mostly want to get away from you, you know, and they want to be left alone. And they provide a really good function in our ecosystem. So no hurting on those snakes, okay? There are other animals I like to allow are bears, okay? I do not try to feed the bears. Bears are not out to get you unless you're waving bologna in front of their face, and then they just really want the bologna. But don't ever do that, okay? Tell me you won't do that. So we go out in the woods, we allow it to be as it is. We allow the birds to be as they are. We allow nature, and then we can truly appreciate it and begin to understand its lessons, I feel. So when we do all that, number 5 result, peace. And peace of mind is no small gift. And that's about all I'll say about peace, but you know it when you feel it. And the first thing I do when I step outside, unconsciously I do this, and let's do it all together now. I just take a deep breath and have a sigh of relief. I just breathe. And that's what nature gives to me. So to summarize, Waldo, we're like that, you know, first name basis. He says, nature can teach us in the here and now lessons of change, connection, interrelatedness, patience, appreciation, acceptance, and peace. The important things I know I learned first in nature. I saw birth, growth, death, the rebirth in the spring, beauty that man did not make. Every walk in the woods to me brings a new lesson, Some days it's gratitude. I'm so grateful to be here on this beautiful day. Some days when the buzzards are circling, I think I can survive this too. So not simply a walk in the woods. I think of many of my walks as a walking meditation. Lifts my mood without fail. And I go through about 9 cans of insect repellent a year. But I want to invite you to come outside and play and just be and observe. It's so fun. And remember the sunscreen. Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
Oh my gosh, Jane, that was so good. Thank you so much for the lessons from you and your best friend Waldo. Some things that I noted as you were talking, the call of the wild went to voicemail. Oh gosh, the days when I feel like I'm only seeing what's not working in the yard. But that reminder to adopt the pace of nature and that peace, you know it when you feel it. So thank you. That was wonderful. Here's a song that Jane selected for us. What a Wonderful World.
Trees of Greenland, red roses too. I watched them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. See friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them go. They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Everybody gotta save to yourself. Make the kuleana pono for help the other. And when you make the kuleana, pono, it's like kind of automatic kind of. You don't need to talk the stuff going happen. And you just gotta let them, and the stuff just waiting for when you ready. And what happened? The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. See friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you.
We've come to our time of joys and concerns. Thank you to all of you watching on YouTube. We will see you next Sunday.